Have you ever felt it? That haunting, ineffable sensation that greets you the moment you open your eyes, not even fully awake, yet already enveloped in a dense, invisible fog that presses down on your chest. It's not the residue of a restless night, nor the simple grogginess of morning. No, it is heavier, stranger, a phantom weight that seems to have traveled with you across dimensions, as if you've returned from an unseen battlefield you cannot remember. There you lie, eyes tracing the indifferent white expanse of the ceiling, your heart echoing with a question so quiet, so insidious, yet so thunderously loud. Is this it? Is this truly the substance of my existence? It's not sadness, not the raw sting of grief, nor the sharp claws of despair. Instead, it's a hollow ache, an unsettling emptiness that refuses to be named. It's the distinct, almost otherworldly sensation of being a stranger in your own skin, an actor thrust onto a stage mid-play, without a script, while everyone else seems to know their lines. You watch the world, the colors, the movements, the endless dance of existence, but when you reach out to touch it, your hands meet nothing but a cold, unyielding pane of glass. You are a spectator in your own life, trapped in a silent museum of vivid, untouchable displays. If you feel this deep within your bones, if these words trace the topography of your hidden inner landscape, know that your arrival here is no coincidence. You were guided to this message. Let your presence ripple through the cosmos. Declare it by commenting, "I am not alone," or simply 777 below, a signal flare to your soul family scattered across the globe. Like this message, subscribe for more sacred truths, and remind yourself that even in your solitude, you are profoundly, divinely seen. Now, let us explore this mysterious emptiness together. Society is quick to label it for you, eager to plaster a convenient sticker onto your soul's cry. Well-meaning friends, family, and even trained professionals may have offered you diagnoses, neat little boxes to contain your vast, sprawling, unwieldy feelings. It's depression, they say, a chemical imbalance, something to be managed, medicated, corrected. And perhaps, desperate for clarity, you tried to embrace that label, hoping that the act of naming it might offer relief. You may have tried the pills, the structured routines, the carefully crafted coping mechanisms, but still, the void remained silent, watching, waiting. But what if I told you there is another truth, one your soul already suspects? What if you are not broken? What if this aching detachment, this quiet exile from the vibrancy of life, is not a pathology, but a profound, divine signal? What if it is the tremor of your soul finally stirring awake after lifetimes of forgetting? You are not malfunctioning. No, my dear one, you are awakening. This aching void is not a sickness. It is the friction of your soul grinding against the artificial machinery of a world profoundly disconnected from its own spirit. The heaviness you feel, it is the weight of truth pressing against the lies you've inherited. It is the sound of your spirit rejecting a reality too small, too narrow, too shallow for the vastness of your being. Look around you, not with the eyes trained by habit, but with the gaze of your awakening spirit. What do you see? Screens everywhere, glowing like false gods, altars of distraction and disconnection. The hypnotic scroll of curated feeds, endless performances of happiness and outrage, cleverly designed to keep souls asleep, tethered to illusions. We watch people sculpt digital avatars of their live shylight reels, scrubbed clean of imperfection, broadcasted into the void to be measured in hollow metrics of likes and follows. Friendships dissolve into transactions, relationships become mere algorithms of attention, and intimacy is often reduced to swipes and emojis. People connect, but seldom truly commune. They collect digital approval like counterfeit currency, chasing momentary validation in place of genuine connection. Loneliness grows, not because there are no people around, but because the connections lack soul. Underneath it all, we are starving for something real, something sacred, something that cannot be filtered or hashtagged. And when you feel this emptiness, this aching void, it is not because you are lacking, but because your soul cannot digest the artificiality you are being fed. Your higher self is sounding the alarm. This is not it, this is not your home. Think further still about the systems we're trapped in. We spend our precious years trading time, almost sacred, non-renewable resource for jobs that hollow us out, for currencies that barely sustain us, all while our creative spark flickers quietly in the background, barely surviving. We chase titles, promotions, status symbols, mistaking them for fulfillment because that's the lie we've been sold. We sacrifice the golden hours of our lives on the altar of productivity, told to climb a ladder that leads to a destination no one can describe, only to find at the top a cold, wind-swept plateau of success that feels eerily empty. We rent our labor, our energy, our very souls, just to afford shelter we barely have time to enjoy, in cities that pulse with noise but often lack connection. We are told this is the path, that this is adulthood, this is responsibility, but your soul knows better. That ache in your chest is your spirit's protest, a sacred rebellion against a life that was never meant for you. The glass wall you feel between you and the world? That's not a defect, it's a protective barrier your higher self has placed between you and the madness, urging you to wake up, to see the illusion for what it is. The world says, fix yourself, adapt, numb it out, but your soul whispers, number, remember, break free. Let me tell you about someone I once knew, a man named Mike. On the surface, Mike had everything that should have spelled happiness. A prestigious job that impressed strangers, a salary that provided every material comfort, a partner who adored him, and a circle of friends that kept his weekends full. By every societal metric, Mike was winning the game of life. But inside, behind his polished smile and social charm, he was crumbling. I remember one night, sitting on a rooftop under a canopy of stars that felt both infinite and mocking, Mike finally spoke the truth that haunted him. His voice was low, raw, heavy with a vulnerability he rarely allowed to surface. I feel like I'm living in someone else's movie, he confessed. Every day I play my part, hit my marks, say my lines, but none of it feels real. It's like watching a beautiful, glossy film where I'm the star, yet I feel nothing. It's all hollow. His laughter with friends felt canned, his conversations with his partner felt scripted, his work once his pride had become a treadmill of empty achievements. The days blurred together, each one a carbon copy of the last, his life a perfect loop of predictability and numbness. He had built a beautiful, well-decorated prison, and only he seemed to notice the bars. In his quiet desperation, Mike sought help. He sat in clinical offices, recounting his feelings to professionals who listened kindly but clinically, their eyes flicking between him and their notes. After a few sessions, a label was handed to him: depression. A tidy medical explanation. He was prescribed pills to adjust his chemistry, encouraged to take up hobbies, to exercise, to sleep more. Practical advice, well-meaning, but woefully insufficient. The world saw a mind that needed fixing, a malfunctioning machine in need of recalibration, but no one saw the deeper truth. No one recognized that what Mike was experiencing wasn't a disorder, but a sacred discontent, a soul-deep refusal to continue playing a role that was killing his spirit. His was not a disease to be medicated away, it was an awakening knocking, louder and louder, at the door of his consciousness, begging him to answer. And so, slowly, painfully, Mike began to listen not to the therapists or the well-wishers, but to the quiet voice within. He stopped numbing, he stopped distracting himself with busyness. He allowed himself to sit with the discomfort, the ache, the emptiness, and in that stillness, a new understanding began to dawn. He wasn't broken, he was awakening. Awakening to a life he had built based on other people's definitions of success, other people's expectations of happiness. He realized his soul was starving, not for more achievements, but for authenticity, for real connection, for a purpose that fed him instead of draining him. Slowly, he started to dismantle the prison he'd built, brick by brick. He left the job that paid well but starved his creativity. He re-evaluated his relationships, seeking depth over quantity. He stopped performing and started existing messy, raw, real. It wasn't easy, it wasn't quick, but it was true. This, my dear one, is what your emptiness might be trying to show you. It is not a punishment, it is a portal. A sacred invitation to awaken, to question, to rebel against the lie that says this is all life has to offer. The ache you feel is the signal that your soul is alive, awake, and yearning to be reclaimed. You are not alone in this. The fact that you are here, reading these words, is your soul's way of reaching out, of reminding you that beyond the fog, there is a path, a way back to yourself. To meaning, to purpose, to love that doesn't feel like performance, to friendships that nourish, not deplete, to a life that feels real, not rehearsed. The journey is yours to claim. And it begins, as all great journeys do, with a single, quiet, revolutionary decision to remember who you are beneath the roles, beneath the expectations, beneath the numbness. You are not broken. You are awakening, and you are not alone. Initially, Mike tried to accept the label. It was easier, more convenient. It gave his suffering a name that the world could understand. But the more he looked around, truly looked, the more he observed the world through this new, painfully clear lens, the more a different truth began to dawn on him. The diagnosis didn't fit because his soul wasn't sick. His spirit was waking up. He was seeing, for the first time, the pervasive insanity of a society that champions the superficial over the sacred. He was noticing the collective trance, the mass hypnosis that keeps people chasing illusions they don't even enjoy. And his awakening consciousness was making him question everything. Why wasn't anyone else screaming? Why did everyone else seem so comfortable, so content, so utterly unbothered by the sheer, deafening emptiness of it all? He wasn't depressed. He was discerning. His senses were finally coming online, tuned to a higher frequency of truth. And perhaps this is the very precipice upon which you stand right now. That feeling you've been carrying is not a sign that you are losing your mind. On the contrary, it is the undeniable proof that you are finally beginning to use it. You are using your true senses, your spiritual intuition, to see beyond the veil, to perceive the intricate web of strings that keeps the puppet show of society in motion. You're starting to see the traps laid out to capture your attention, the glittering illusions designed to keep you distracted and asleep. And that profound emptiness you feel, that is not a void to be feared. It is the sacred, fertile ground from which something powerful and new is about to be born. It is the first breath of a new consciousness. This is the beginning of a great separation within your own being, a separation of your authentic self from the version of you that chose comfort over clarity, that chose belonging over truth. Yes, this process can feel utterly terrifying. It can feel as though the very ground beneath your feet is dissolving, leaving you in a free fall. But I ask you to consider this. Could it be that this terrifying freefall is the first time in your entire life that you have ever truly felt alive? You see, there is a fundamental truth that most people will spend their entire lives avoiding, a truth they will not admit even to themselves. The moment you begin to notice the hollowness, the second your soul rejects the artificial flavor of the world, that is the moment society will rush to label you. You will be called broken, defective, difficult, or negative. You will be pathologized for your clarity. Why? Because your very presence, your quiet refusal to play along, is a mirror that reflects the uncomfortable truth back to them. You have stopped pretending, and that makes you a threat to the grand illusion. You have simply stopped feigning enthusiasm for things that are at their core utterly and completely meaningless. But this is not your weakness. This, my friend, is your superpower. It is the emergence of an incorruptible inner strength. The discomfort that churns within you right now, the strange and persistent emptiness, the nagging, unshakable sense that everything around you just feels off. This is not a symptom you need to medicate away. It is not a flaw you need to ignore or suppress. It is your divine intuition, your inner guidance system, finally coming alive after a long and heavy slumber. It is the voice of your higher self, begging you, pleading with you to stop living your precious life on autopilot. Think about the normal that so many people accept without question. Every single day, millions upon millions of souls wake up to the jarring sound of an alarm. They swipe it off, silencing the first demand of the day. They pour a cup of coffee, a ritualized dose of artificial energy, just to achieve a baseline level of function. They rush to jobs they secretly resent, spending the best hours of their day in service of a mission they don't believe in. They offer tired, practiced smiles to co-workers they feel no real connection with. And then, in their precious few hours of freedom, they numb themselves, scrolling through the highlight reels of other people's filtered lives, a process designed to make them feel inadequate, to make them feel that their own authentic life is somehow not enough. They call this routine normal. They call this cycle life. But if that is truly life, if that is the pinnacle of what it means to be human, then why does it feel so profoundly, deeply wrong? If that is what happiness is supposed to look like, why do so many of us feel completely and utterly drained by it? The truth is, the society we have constructed is not built for souls who ask these kinds of questions. It is not designed to support those who dare to look deeper. This society is built for those who are willing to numb themselves just enough to keep chasing a carrot they will never, ever be allowed to taste. Our modern world thrives on the quiet, simmering desperation of people who never look too deeply into their own hearts, who never question the system too loudly, who never ever noticed the gilded bars of the cage that surrounds them. And you are starting to see the cage. You are beginning to feel its cold, restrictive weight. You're noticing how many people around you are smiling, but their eyes are empty. They are smiling because they are terrified that if they stop pretending, even for a moment, the entire fragile facade of their lives might crumble to dust. When Mike returned to his therapist and explained that he couldn't find joy in the things that were supposed to make him happy, they told him his machine was still broken. They saw his rejection of the illusion as a malfunction, but Mike wasn't malfunctioning. For the first time in his adult life, he was finally functioning at a higher level of awareness, a level of consciousness that the system cannot compute. He had seen through the illusions, and the emptiness he felt was simply the space that opened up when the lies fell away. There is a profound insight from the philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti that perfectly captures this experience. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Let that sink into your being. Read it again. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Maybe you are not sick at all. Maybe you are not depressed, not broken, not mentally ill. Maybe you have just stopped being well adjusted to the madness that everyone else has agreed to call normal. Maybe, just maybe, you are finally waking up from a long, deep and dreamless sleep. And the jarring feeling you have right now, this sense of disorientation, is the first clean, crisp breath of real clarity. Yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, it feels strange. But I ask you, would you honestly prefer to go back? Would you choose to close your eyes again and live out your days feeling that dull, persistent emptiness, but never daring to ask why? Or would you rather step bravely into this discomfort, embrace the sacred unease, and begin the holy work of reclaiming your life from a society that profits from your slumber? Because here is the raw truth of this awakening. It is often a lonely path, at least at first. It's the hardest part of the journey. Suddenly, you're sitting at a dinner table with old friends, and you feel like a foreigner who no longer speaks the local language. You're listening to jokes that feel hollow, nodding along to conversations you can no longer connect with, and you're wondering why no one else seems to notice how thin, how fragile, how utterly fake it all feels. You are caught in a liminal space, an awkward and sacred limbo, halfway between the old version of you who desperately wanted to fit in, and the new, emerging self who simply cannot pretend anymore. You begin to wonder if it's just you. You think, maybe I am the one who's off. Maybe I'm just overthinking everything. So you try to go back. You try to force yourself to blend in again. You try watching the same shows, gossiping about the same pointless drama, chasing the same superficial goals. But every time you do, the emptiness feels even more profound. It's like tasting artificial sweetener after you've experienced the rich, complex sweetness of real honey. Nothing else can satisfy you anymore. Because here's the deal. Once you have seen past the illusions, you can never unsee them. You can't put the blindfold back on and pretend the world is flat when you've seen the curve of the horizon. Your mind won't let you. Your spirit, now awakened, will not allow it. It knows too much now. You have glimpsed what lies beneath the surface, and now everything else looks like a shallow, poorly rehearsed play. The great psychologist Carl Jung spoke extensively about this process. He called it individuation, the journey of shedding the collective persona and becoming who you truly are, authentic, whole, and fully conscious. Jung wisely said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But he also knew that this journey is not a walk in the park. It can feel isolating. It can feel intense. At times, it can feel almost unbearable. But it is the one journey you must take if you ever want to experience true, unshakable freedom. This is what is happening to you now. You are breaking free from the matrix of expectations, from the roles you've been playing, from the quiet desperation you accepted as normal. You are finally daring to ask the most important question of all: who am I when I'm not pretending to be who others expect me to be? This question terrifies most people because it threatens the very foundation of the lives they've built. But the powerful truth you are discovering is that the stability they cling to was never real to begin with. It was just comfort. It was just routine. It was just compliance. It was a beautiful prison disguised as a palace. You are not alone on this path. You are simply ahead of the curve. You are seeing clearly what millions of others feel deep down but don't yet have the courage to acknowledge. And the loneliness you feel, it is not a permanent state. It is simply the sacred, empty space where your old illusions used to reside. Soon, if you stay on this path, new connections will begin to form. These will be connections built not on convenience, but on truth. Connections built on authenticity and a shared, genuine awareness. The more you awaken, the more you will naturally attract other souls who are also waking up. You will find your people, your tribe, and you will discover that they don't want small talk. They crave real, deep, soul-bearing conversations. They are people who refuse to live their lives through filters, people who don't just exist but who genuinely, passionately live. And these people, your soul family, will see you clearly. They will resonate with your truth. With them, you will never have to water yourself down or dim your light again. But first, you must accept the sacred discomfort of standing alone, even if just for a little while. Because it is right there, in that holy discomfort, that you truly meet yourself for the first time. Not the version society molded, not the version your family expected, but you, raw, real, and finally awake. And once you taste that kind of clarity, that kind of freedom, there is no going back. You will never again settle for numbness. You will never again tolerate illusions. You will finally understand what it means to be alive. You will understand that this journey, this messy, painful, beautiful awakening was never about losing yourself. It was about finally finding yourself. It was about coming home,